What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Early Edge. We are brought to you by BetMGM. And ladies and gentlemen, the countdown continues. We are Geronimo Allison days away from football season. Put your favorite 81 in the chat. I see most of you already doing that. What's up, Chris Kish? What's up, CID? Joe Neuenfeld. Liddy is in here. The Sniper's already causing trouble in the chat. Speaking of trouble, let's look at the recap screen to see how we did here. Heartbreak on my Siwoo Kim, top Korean at plus 225. Tom Kim chases him down. We lose that one. We go 3-6 overall, losing by the hook on a couple of picks. Mackenzie's pick, Zach's pick, lose by the hook there. I did hit my plus 110. A lot of plus money plays on this show, but nonetheless, a 3-6 recap screen. Buckets goes 1 for 2 there. But we've got a great cast on a Monday, a really great cast. Let's bring in the stars of the show. We've got a lot to talk about. NBA, MLB, it's a big day on both fronts. We got Mackenzie Brooks, we got the Sniper, we got Mikey B, and we got PropStarz. And PropStarz, I do need to start with you. Some news in MLB, some news in the NBA. Let's start with the Desmond Bane trade. Yesterday, it was Desmond Bane for a couple of players, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, somebody else that I'm forgetting, and 4 first-round picks. Your reaction?
Yeah, I love this trade for the Orlando Magic. The 4 first-round picks, 3 of those are unprotected first-round picks from Orlando, which I don't expect to be lottery picks considering you've got Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, and now Desmond Bane. To me, that's a very formidable team. And then the Phoenix pick, which is the valuable pick next season, but this is a great move for Orlando. Desmond Bane, in my opinion, is a top 35, maybe top 40 player in the NBA. He's a 50-40-90 player since entering the league. He's a very underrated playmaker as well. I think he's going to fit in that backcourt with Jalen Suggs, who's a terrific defender. But yeah, he's going to create spacing on this Magic team, which they've desperately needed. Was a big issue for them, particularly last season. So I think Paolo Banchero has proven to be one of the best young players in the league, and just adding a guy like Desmond Bane, who's a proven playmaker, very good on both ends of the court. I think he's going to be a tremendous fit to this Orlando team, and I think they're suddenly they're legit contenders in the Eastern Conference.
Mikey B and Mackenzie, I want to go to you real quick with your reaction. Then, Sniper, I have a question for you about another huge trade in Rafael Devers. Mikey B, I think a lot of people's initial reaction, and I hate to be this guy that's like, ooh, that's expensive. Ooh, that's a lot of first-round picks, because I feel like that's like the I know ball reaction, and I really don't want to be that person, but it is 4 first-round picks, and I understand what PropStarz just said about, 3 of them being, I believe 3 of them being unprotected, but still, like, we're not looking at, like, lottery picks necessarily for Orlando. Your initial reaction, Mikey B?
I'm like Proppy. I love it for the Magic. One of those picks is the KCP tax. His contract was terrible. If they were going to unload him to another team, they were going to have to attach a first-round pick just to get rid of him. So I really only look at it as 3 picks. Desmond Bane fits in perfectly. They don't have a traditional point guard, but now they have 4 guys in Bane, Suggs, Banchero, and Wagner, who are all good passers. So no traditional 8 to 10 assist point guard, but 4 guys that can pass. They get the shooting they need with Bane without giving up anything on defense. I love the trade. The East is wide open, so go for it. This is great.
That's so true, Mackenzie. The East truly is wide open. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it feels like the weird part, it feels like a trade that you make to win the Eastern Conference, but then it's like they're still not close to competing with anyone, whoever's coming out of the West, in the years to come. So it is a lot of picks. I think a 82 game Desmond Bane is going to be very, very awesome for this team. The big if we get that many games out of him, if we get, a healthy him, I think this could be super, super impactful for this Magic team. The model's all over it. The model loves it. The models never loved KCP. So we have the Grizzlies kind of plummeting some of their chances. I don't think they win in this trade as much. But yeah, I think it's a great move to be competitive in the East. It doesn't really scream you can always be competitive in the West, but I think they have a shot of maybe getting like another shooter like Walter Clayton Jr. maybe, or someone in the draft. I could be wrong there, but this could be, the start of something.
Another big question is what Memphis does. Obviously, they got to consider what they're going to do with Ja Morant. So, I mean, that's listen, we could spend a half an hour on this topic alone, but we do have to transition. We want to get to picks, but Sniper, just real quick, the Rafael Devers trade, that was, I think, a surprise to some people. I don't know, maybe not to you. Okay, so it was a
No, it
surprise.
was a huge surprise.
So your reaction there, and then we'll finally get to picks, folks.
So yeah, a huge surprise because the Red Sox are I believe they've won 7 of 8, and they just got back over 500. They're I believe only a half game out in the AL wild card, and all of a sudden this looks like a complete salary dump by Craig Breslow, the new general manager of the Red Sox. One thing, Breslow is a former player, and I just can't help but wonder about, they signed Alex Bregman, and then Devers threw a stink about not moving from third base. And then Tristan Casas goes down, and they're like, hey, will you play first base? And Devers refuses to learn first base. I just wonder if, with a new front office in there, being a former player, if he's like, screw that. If this guy's not going to be adaptable. Look, we just saw Mookie Betts, a former MVP, move from right field to second base and then shortstop and then back to right field, and they won the World Series. Jose Altuve moved from second base to left field. Aaron Judge is going from right to center and back to right. Devers, you can't pick up a first baseman mitt, you're gone. That's what I think it was. In addition to the Giants taking the rest of his contract, which is huge. Now they have more financial flexibility moving forward. I think that's what it was with Breslow.
Sniper, you're so close to these teams and these players. Is dugout or locker room? I mean, locker room's a poor phrase here, but is that type of chemistry? Is that a thing in baseball like it is in other sports where, like, if this is kind of a bad apple, like just unload them?
It can be. It can be. And actually, on the flip side, if a team's going well and you rip the carpet out from underneath them, there might be a little short hangover, and that is kind of some foreshadowing for one of my plays for tonight.
Oh, professional. See, Sniper's a pro. Check out his content everywhere, including cbssports.com. Sniper, you really are a pro, so I appreciate you being on the show along with the other 3 here. All right, PropStarz. Speaking of pros, speaking of guys that don't necessarily get as much praise as they deserve, there is a name, Alex Caruso, that's just ringing in my head. He's one of your picks, and you're not necessarily giving him praise tonight either, but I'm sure you respect the game.
I'm going to praise him first because he has been truly one of the best offseason acquisitions, not this offseason, but probably in league history, certainly in the modern era. So Alex Caruso has been absolutely phenomenal. That being said, he's approaching territory that I think he's worth fading at 17.5 points, rebounds, and assists. This is a grossly inflated line, in my opinion. Caruso's been tremendous in the finals, shooting over 50% from the field, shooting over 50% from three-point land. That's just not sustainable, in my opinion. And as a result, his numbers, again, have bumped up significantly here. Typically, his PRA is somewhere between 13.5, 14.5. He just doesn't have the type of shooting volume to really sustain this type of number, in my opinion. He's going to have to shoot upwards of 55, 60% if he's going to eclipse a number this high. So I think this is a good spot to fade him. I do think he's a regression candidate. I have an additional bonus pick, Sia, if I can. I'm going to go slightly off script here. It's an NFL future season-long position that I absolutely love. I opened this one myself yesterday. It's on Bryce Young, over 3,150 passing yards. Yes, that's not a typo. That is an incredibly low number for Bryce Young, in my opinion. Year 2 in the Dave Canales offense here. He has to average just 185 passing yards in order to eclipse this season-long total. Things really clicked for him last year after kind of, struggling early in the year, dealing with some injuries, sitting behind Andy Dalton. By those final 3 games, he had a 7-0 touchdown to interception ratio, had a 100+ QB rating in all 3 games. Then Carolina prioritized upgrading the offense in the offseason, adding Tedera McMillan, 8th overall pick. He profiles very similar to Mike Evans. They have Xavier Legette, who's flashed as well. So I look at this Carolina offense as going to be significantly better than last year. Bryce Young also, I think, will make a leap here, but this number is just way too low. I think this number should be 3,350, maybe even 3,400. So I would grab this early additional bonus pick from PropStarz.
Look forward to more additional bonus picks from the entire team as we, again, are 81 days away from NFL kickoff. I saw some people putting in their favorite 81. Terrell Owens, Art Monk was mentioned. So many good 81s, though. Go look it up and put your favorite player if you don't have anything on recall there. All right, we go from an under to an over. And Mackenzie, before you give out your pick, I do have to say a lot of people were on my Sam Burns pick for the U.S. Open, and it looked like it was going to come through until the rain came, and then found himself in a divot on 11, divot on 14, and in a pool of water on 15. He didn't get relief from it. So I feel like we got a little cheated there, but congratulations to JJ Spawn. We were going for 2 outrights in a row. We didn't get it, but tune into the early wedge tonight at 7 o'clock. It's the DFS show, and then, of course, the Bets Bet show tomorrow at 7 o'clock on this channel and on this podcast feed. All right, enough of that. I might have lost a little bit of sleep over the Sam Burns swing and miss yesterday. Mackenzie, talk to me about an exciting OKC team that you expect to score some points.
Yeah, see, I'm glad to hear that you're taking the news well. It seems like we're handling it fabulously over there. I am going to zig when I think everyone else is going to zag here. I think you're going to see a lot of unders, a lot of people ready for these defenses to lock in, a lot of people talking about you got the days off to come up with a game plan. I think this is a good buy low spot we're going to get where OKC goes back home and they pop off, because that's what they've done against Minnesota. That's what they did against Denver. I mean, in Minnesota, those first 3 games, they averaged like 110, and then they went home and they were over 120 in those 2 games that they won. And similar thing with Denver as well. When they went home game 7, then they put up, I think it was 125. So for starters, they made 3 3-pointers last game. Like, sue me to believe maybe we'll get some regression and they start shooting better at home as well. So I think, your bench plays better at home. I also feel like we just kind of saw a turn towards the end of that fourth quarter where SGA either was successfully drawing the fouls again, or he was just making the shots. Like, now you're in a really tough situation as the Pacers defense there. I also think this team in general will have a better plan for Indiana's defense. And I think we just we saw sparks of it in that fourth quarter. Now I think they go home and there's a better game plan. And I just think they're also due to literally double their 3-point shooting percentage from game 4 in this game 5 here. So I could see this line moving up by the next game. So I think 116.5 is a pretty good number right now.
All right, 116.5. We're taking the team total over right there. I had something in the chat that I wanted to address, and I can't remember. Sniper, I do think it was relating to some of the baseball chatter with what the Red Sox management has been doing. I saw you in the chat. Any reaction there?
No, it was just somebody said that Breslow botched the situation from the start. And okay, maybe he should have talked to Devers before they signed Bregman and everything. But like, come on, man. There's guys that move positions all the time. As I just said, Mookie Betts, one of the best defensive right fielders in baseball. The Dodgers have a need to rise in middle infield. And he says, hey, I'll go play second. And then he shifts over to shortstop. Then he shifts back to second. Then he goes back to right field. None of that was planned. Plus, Devers led the league, led third baseman in errors every single year. Like 7 years in a row, led third baseman in errors. He's not even 30 years old yet. He's signed through 23. Of course, 2033. Of course, at some point, he's going to have to move to first base. Almost all bigger third basemen who hit for power end up moving to third base. That's just a natural part of the game. So I'm not understanding completely putting this on Breslow. Yeah, they could have talked to him. They could have softened the blow a little bit early on, but hard for me to get on board with the guy who just won't change positions when almost every other star will do it.
Gipper's pick says be a team player. Pretty easy stuff right there. All right. BetMGM. If you're looking to bet the NBA Finals, account holders will receive an NBA Finals odds boost token tonight. To use the odds boost, make an NBA Finals wager and activate the boost token. If your bet hits, you get extra winnings. Do we have a graphic for that? I thought we had a graphic for that. I was waiting for it, Ben, but I don't think, maybe we don't have a graphic for it today. But either way, use that NBA Finals wager boost token tonight for the NBA Finals. All right, we got to get to some home run plays. We got to get to Sniper, your baseball plays. I think we might have, Mikey B, we still have your prop play to go. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, we're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. Let's take a look at the SportsLine home run model plays. We've got 3 as usual. We bring them every single show. Top MLB home run plays per the SportsLine model. Junior Caminero, he's been on this list plenty of times before. Plus 290 is what SportsLine has him at. The real odds, though, plus 375. Kyle Schwarber, plus 260 versus plus 350. And Jose Altuve, plus 450 versus plus 500. Sniper, any reaction here?
Well, I always love seeing the fellow Hoosier of Ben and I on there and Kyle Schwarber. And actually, I was going to say Altuve. I have a few things here to add on some home run notes at the end, and Altuve was going to be one of the guys I hit. So I love both of those. And actually, Caminero, I'm hitting that game. There's a lot of stuff lining up here, basically.
All right. Well, that's a good transition to your pick, Sniper. Let us have it.
Okay, so first of all, I might as well dive right in. We've been talking about the Red Sox and trading Rafael Devers. Now, I understand wanting to get out of the money and the Craig Breslow wanting to get out of the deal there, but in the Red Sox clubhouse where they've won 7 out of 8 right now and they just feel like they've gotten right back in the race, now all of a sudden their best hitter's gone. And remember, Alex Bregman's hurt too. So the middle of their lineup is going to look depleted as they go from Fenway Park all the way to Seattle. Very tough hitter environment in Seattle. Logan Gilbert on the mound for the Mariners. He's coming back from an elbow injury. He's a beast. He's especially a beast at home. 2.41 ERA at home in the last 2 seasons. I'm going to go down to a first 3 here, actually, and I'm going to say that the Red Sox just don't score in the first 3 innings. One time through the order, I think they're going to be shell-shocked offensively with Devers gone. Plus, again, no Devers in the middle lineup. Bregman's still hurt, so I'm going to say under half run at plus money there. So we're going first 3 get shut out there. I thought that was fun. Also, going to go down to Tampa with the Orioles, who are hot right now, trying to resurrect themselves. They left themselves for dead. They're only 6 games out of a wild card now. Gunnar Henderson is very hot himself right now. In his career against Ryan Pepiot, Rays starter, he's 2 for 6 with a home run. Pepiot has allowed 11 home runs at home. We can say home there for the Rays this season in George Steinbrenner Field, and only 9 starts. So he's homer prone. It's hot and humid. The wind looks like it's going to be blowing out to right field. Gunnar Henderson's a lefty. Gunnar has an 8-game hitting streak right now in which he's 13 for 30, which is a .433 average, but he hasn't hit a home run. So I feel like he's going to be hot, stay hot, but he's also due to hit a home run. Really like him as a home run play. If you want to do that, I'm going to go over the 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs at -135. If you like an alternate line, you can get up plus money on the +3 on 3+ hits, run, RBIs as well. Also, late ad here. Sorry, producer Ben. Shohei Ohtani is going to pitch tonight. Now, he's only gone up to 3 innings and 44 pitches in simulated games for the Dodgers. He didn't get a minor league rehab assignment because they need him in the lineup as a designated hitter. It's a unique situation. Usually guys coming back from major surgery go down to the minors, work themselves up. But since Ohtani's in the majors as a hitter, he didn't get to do that. Doesn't really hurt the Dodgers to only throw him a few innings because they don't have to add him to the roster spot as a pitcher because he's already on the roster as a hitter. Again, it's a really weird situation. I don't think he's going to go too deep in the game, but looking at the prop, 1.5 strikeouts is the line. I do think he's going to strike out 2 hitters. I think he's going to go 2 or 3 innings, and then that's all he's going to need to strike out 2 or 3 guys. So at +100, I want the over 1.5 strikeouts here, but it is a risk because he's not going to go that deep in the game. You might only see him get to 50 pitches or so. And as far as the home runs, like I said, I liked a few of those plays on there. In addition to the Rays hitters, in addition to the Orioles hitters against Pepiot, like Gunnar Henderson, you could look at the other side. Eflin has gotten killed by left-handed batters so far. Brandon Lau, Jonathan Aranda on there for the Rays could play. Also in Sacramento, which, I love the home runs there as well. JP Sears, a lefty. He has given up a lot of home runs this year. So Altuve has very good history on him. That's why I liked the SportsLine model there. Also, Jeremy Pena, good numbers against him. He's been hot. That's a good one as well. And Yainer Diaz, if you like him as well, is another one you can play on the Astros.
That was so much information in about a 2.5 minute.
Yeah, sorry, I stumbled a few times. I had a lot of stuff written down on my cheat sheet.
That's beautiful. Keep making the cheat sheets and keep stumbling around. You didn't stumble at all, actually. Just keep feeding us everything you got. Can I ask you, that Orioles-Rays game, the total is 8.5. Is that something you would at least take a look at, or
yeah.
is okay?
Yeah, I mean, it's Eflin and Pepiot are both reasonably good pitchers, so they could keep the ball down, keep it in the yard, have a low scoring game. So it makes sense why it's 8.5. you could also see things falling off the rails rather early there, and then both of the bullpens getting beat up a little bit.
Very interesting stuff. All right. I think I'm going to have my eye on that game. Somebody was pointing out the Orioles, to make the playoffs was plus 1,200. I think that's what is to make the playoffs from Mr. Heat.
There's
plus
still a lot of
1,200.
teams in between them
Yeah.
and the spot, but if they keep just winning series, they're going to gradually climb right back into that thing. And if they get close, they're going to rally around each other. Hey, we knew we could come back. Nobody believed in us. We're going to do this.
But Sniper, their starting pitching is not going to get any better. Isn't that the big issue there?
I actually haven't looked in a little bit on the progress of like Grayson Rodriguez or Kyle Bradish, but I assume they're both pretty much done. So yeah, it's probably cooked. But they did get Eflin back from injury. Maybe they pull off a trade in front of the trade deadline if things continue on this pace.
All right, fair enough. Well, Mikey B, a lot of people think Indiana is cooked, even though it's just 2-2, 2 out of 3 in OKC. If Indiana is going to do anything, it's got to be because of Halliburton, the role players, but obviously also Pascal Siakam.
Yeah, we're going to go Pascal Siakam over 18.5 points at minus 130. He hasn't had an efficient series. He's shooting 43.6% from the field in the finals, but he did score at least 19 points in 3 of the 4 games. Why? Well, he's been getting to the foul line much more often. He averaged 3.9 free throw attempts per game during the regular season. In this series, he has averaged 7.3 free throw attempts per game. Tyrese Halliburton, obviously the star of the Pacers, he is not a high volume scorer. Miles Turner has gone completely cold. He's jacking up 3-pointers that he normally would hit. They're not even coming close. They're to the left, to the right. They're ugly, ugly shots. If the Pacers are going to win this game and keep it close, they need 20 points from Pascal Siakam. We only need 19 here to hit this over. So I like it. And see, I just want to add, I've got my Giant shirt on today. We need a number 81, Amani Toomer, one of my favorite Giants of all time. Amani Toomer.
That's a good one. That is a really good one. Hand up. Does anybody else have an 81 they want to say? If not, that's okay.
I usually look, but I forgot to look because I was dealing with the Ohtani Endeavor stuff. I forgot to look.
Completely fair. Again, if you have an 81, put it in the chat. We go to 80 tomorrow, so be prepared for that one. Ben, I do have a question for you. You put in the chat that the first half, OKC first half minus 5.5 was tempting to you. I'd love to know if you're actually playing that. I'm not asking for an official play, but I just couldn't help but notice that in the chat. Ben, your thoughts on OKC minus 5.5 first half?
Yeah, this is kind of like one of those, it's kind of the zigzag theory type of thing where OKC just plays so well back at home. And we saw them play well in Indy a little bit, but this to me is like they forced a comeback in game 4. They're kind of riding that high. They come back, they're at home in front of their home fans. They're going to be a little bit less tight, which they kind of look tight a little bit on the road. 5.5 seems a little bit low. And we know on the other side, the Pacers also struggle on the road to start these games. So I think they kind of figured out some of these defensive matchups. They were switching SGA onto more favorable matchups instead of keeping him on Nembhard. I think they're going to search for those matchups again, be a little bit more successful. And maybe the Pacers win this game, but I think it's going to take one of those second half comebacks again. So I think OKC really kind of plows through them in that first half.
Mackenzie, I saw some head nodding there, and then PropStarz, I'll go to you, and Mikey B, if you have any thoughts before we get to the recap screen. Go ahead, Mackenzie.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking upstairs with my dad about this, about Miles Turner too. Like, it's a 7-foot center that's literally getting like 2 rebounds. And now you have Hartenstein starting and you have Chet. So now you have 2 7-footers. So now you really need to at least be trying to rebound as a 7-foot center here. And I understand like they need to be shooting 45+% from deep to win this game. And they need Turner to do that. But if you have Turner doing that and he's 24 feet out, then he can't also be getting your rebounds. So it just feels like they're going to get in this really tough situation that might not be replicable. But I know Proppy might have some other things to say about that.
Proppy, go ahead.
Shout out to the great Megatron, number 81, Calvin Johnson, one of the best wide receivers in NFL history. And my personal favorite 81 of all time.
All right. Anquan Bolden was mentioned in the chat. That's a really good one. Andre Johnson was mentioned, but he's number 80, right? Are we now moving on to 80s? Anquan Bolden
some
was
people
80.
in the chat decided to move ahead to tomorrow.
Oh, that's fair enough. All right. You had me confused. Mikey B, your reaction to Ben's, potential play on OKC minus 5.5 first half.
Yeah, I would lean that way just because the Thunder are so dominant at home and they usually get off the hot starts. And let's do rapid fire. Jeff Stenberg is all over the place here in the chat. He said Kason Wallace 3+ 3-pointers plus 1,200. No, I wouldn't try that one. Lou Dort 3+ assists. I don't really like that. That's plus 850. I prefer that over the Wallace one, but I don't really like either. And then he had Chet Holmgren double. I think he said it was plus 115. That one I like. I think Chet Holmgren plays somewhere around 33 to 35 minutes. And like Mackenzie was saying, the Pacers cannot rebound. Miles Turner is allergic to rebounds. So I do think that Holmgren has a good shot at a double-double.
He's like Jaren Jackson Jr. too. It's like, how are you you're so big. Like, what's the point of being that big if you can't?
That's how Brook Lopez has been for most of his career. When Brook Lopez started shooting 3-pointers, his rebound, he wasn't a great rebounder to begin with. Then they evaporated. They just completely went away. And that's kind of what Miles Turner is.
Yeah.
Andrew Stanek says, Torrey Holt for today and tomorrow, Isaac Bruce. Definitely not an old Rams fan, he says. How about, was Henry Ellard number 80? I feel like Henry Ellard might have been 80 as well, speaking of old Rams. And PropStarz, do you happen to recall, it was Holt, it was Bruce, and who was the third receiver on that Kurt Warner Super Bowl team? Do you remember? I know it, but I'm asking you.
I do. It was a slot receiver, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. And he had the coolest name ever. Sniper, go ahead.
Hakeem.
Hazir Hakeem, I think was his full name. Love that. Man, that was see, now we're going old school. See, we're that close to NFL season. We're just starting
I just love when you say old school, I think like early 20s instead of like when Mackenzie was a baby or Ben was like barely walking. Like, yeah, I remember that in my post-college years. I remember Hakeem.
Yeah. What other show is bringing up Henry Ellard and Hazir Hakeem? I'd like to know what other
Henry Ellard actually was when I was a kid. That's a really good old school one.
Was he number 80? I'm pretty sure he was.
But like that was late 80s, right?
All right. Mr. Big says James Arthur Monk, the best 81 ever, and that's true. Was my favorite, one of my favorite players when I was a very young child. All right, let's get to the recap screen before we get everybody out of here. We've got Alex Caruso under 17.5 PRA. Of course, that's points, rebounds, and assists at -110. Bryce Young, a bonus pick. Bryce Young over 3,150 passing yards at -110. Again, those are both courtesy of PropStarz. Then Mikey B, Pascal Siakam over 18.5 points at -130. Mackenzie Brooks, OKC team total over 116.5 at -120. We got a few picks from the Sniper. Red Sox first 3 innings under a half a run at +110. Gunnar Henderson over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs at -135. And Shohei Ohtani over 1.5 Ks at even money. No sports line pick. We certainly had a Ben Wittenstein producer lean on OKC first half -5.5. So much content coming, including on CBS Sports Network, where you'll see a lot of these people that you see on the screen. PropStarz, Mikey B, Mackenzie Brooks will be joining me for the first 2 segments on CBS Sports Network, talking a lot of NBA, touching on some of the subjects and more that we just talked about. Then Martin Green and Buckets will be joining me for another couple segments on soccer, and then we close shop with Calvin Wetzel for the WNBA. So check us out on CBS Sports Network. Check us out tonight on this channel on The Early Wedge. That's the DFS show on behalf of Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. Mackenzie Brooks, the Sniper, PropStarz, and Mikey B. This has been The Early Edge, and we rest our case.